Welcome to the UNA Baseball Review. Here are your hosts, Coach Mike Keene and Jeff Hodges.
Hello and welcome to the UNA Baseball Review. I'm Jeff Hodges, joined by UNA head baseball coach Mike Keene. Coach Keene, the UNA Lions 24-7 now, rolling along on a 5-game winning streak. But the really big news for the Lions this week, for the first time in the program's history, a #1 national ranking. And there are 3 Division II polls, the Baseball Writers Association, Collegiate Baseball Newspaper, and then the college baseball lineup. So we're 1, 2, and 3, depending on which poll you listen to. But a great accomplishment for the program. I know it's a mid-season honor that you kind of put to the side, but a great honor for the program nonetheless.
Yeah, it gives our good recognition for our program, and I think everybody, we worked hard and just try to be consistent this year, and and basically there's just been one of those years where nobody's really ran away with it. It's been changing almost every week. That's what's the scary part. Almost who's been up there, but it changes, and the polls, you never know how you feel about it. Some are a little bit more regional, and others are, spread out throughout the nation. A lot of times you don't see a lot of other teams in the country. So, but for our program, I'm proud for our players and proud for our program to get that as something that's never been done as program, which I really was not aware that hadn't happened, but good accomplishment.
Central Missouri ranked #1 a week ago, and they went out and lost 4 out of 5, so that had to be a concern. You found out about the #1 ranking early in the day, and you had a game that afternoon at Martin Methodist against a team that had won 21 games this year, but you went out and played really well and won that game 7-3.
Yeah, it was anytime midweek games, you're a little concerned, especially us being on spring break, and you get out of your routine has been changed, and we came out of there and made sure we had a good approach and concentrated, and I think the nice thing is I felt a little more comfortable because Chad Bonner was on the mound, and I think that kind of knew that he was going to at least give us some good innings, and as long as we tried to play good defense, but we ended up swinging the bats pretty well. Didn't play great defense with that, but I thought we swung the bats and were able to score enough runs, and a very good Martin Methodist. I know they would been on a pretty good winning streak themselves.
Another game you played last week, you added a road game with Tennessee Wesleyan. At the time, we're kind of questioning the logic of that because they end up having won 21 in a row, but you're able to snap that winning streak on the road. Not having a conference series, you're able to throw Johnny Hornbuckle, Michael Watkins at them, but you pulled out a game that was really a good one.
It turned out to be really a good game. They're a very good team, obviously. They play in a very small ballpark. We're real fortunate. The wind was actually blowing in, so when I saw that wind blowing in, I thought that's in favor for us. But it was able to get Johnny and get some work in, was able to get 5 innings in. We were scheduled to have Michael do 4, but the game kind of changed around. We had to go to our bullpen, and I thought it was one of those games where Brantley came in and got a left-hander out, then we went to and got into a band in the 9th, and I thought that was one of his better outings. He was 0-2 on every 3 batter he faced and really attacked his zone, and was a good win for us against a very good ball club.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll have more Lion baseball for you after this.
The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by TNT Fireworks, Shoals Distributing Budweiser, and by TVA Credit Union of the Shoals.
TNT Fireworks is proud to support the University of North Alabama and the Lion baseball team. Like the UNA baseball program, TNT Fireworks is committed to excellence. Our product, service, and teamwork are the reasons we are America's #1 selling fireworks brand. Check us out at TNTfireworks.com. And remember, if it's not TNT, it's not fireworks. TNT Fireworks encourages the entire Shoals area to support head coach Mike Keene and his UNA Lions by attending a game at Mike D. Lane Field. Roar Lions!
Daddy, can I get a puppy, please?
Okay, Sammy. It's bedtime.
Oh, 10 more minutes, please.
10 more.
Yes. Please.
Hey, Daddy. Will you buy some alcohol for my party tonight? We'll be right here at the house. You can even take the keys. Please?
Absolutely not.
Each time I turn around.
Never let me have anything.
Don't be a pushover.
I hate you.
Be a parent. Prevent. Don't provide alcohol to minors.
TVA Credit Union was established by the Farm Credit Administration on June 24, 1936, with 7 branches full of financial experts offering personal advice. TVA Credit Union offers low rates for mortgages, auto and personal loans, as well as higher rates on savings and CDs. TVA Credit Union is member-owned and operated, and now open to the community. TVA Credit Union is everybody's credit union. Give TVA Credit Union a call today, 256-386-3000, or stop by any branch.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. This is our highlight segment each week, and today we're going to be looking at a game against Arkansas Tech. And as you mentioned earlier, trying to stay focused on those middle of the week games. That's something your team was really able to do well last year, and they saw it pay off by getting a regional playoff berth. And that's something that you've really been able to do again this season.
Yeah, we talk about that every year. You try to figure out, okay, because what you try to do, you get in your conference, but if you actually want to try to get in the postseason and the regionals, you try to figure out the teams that get in why you're not. And those midweek games are so important because they count just as much as a weekend game. And once you realize that, and even last year we talked about having some series wins against Tech and Southern Arkansas, and then we ended up, out of 8 teams, we ended up number 7. So that shows you how close it is and how tough it is. So, and Arkansas Tech, is a regional opponent, and we knew they were a good ball club. They've been a little up and down. You never know which Arkansas Tech team you're going to face, and they showed they're capable of scoring some runs, and they were every time we think we're going to be putting it away, they come right back. So it was a tough victory for us.
And as we get into the highlights of the Arkansas Tech game at home, the Lions going to pull this one out 8-7, but it was one of those where you got a pretty comfortable lead, and then they just kept chipping away, and we were able to answer each time. But it ended up being a great ball game.
It was really one of the first games this year where. Andrea Hillis has been, in midweek games and doing a good job of pitching. This was a day where the wind was really blowing out to left field, so any fly balls you're a little bit concerned that maybe they could carry out. They did have one later on. We threw a pretty good pitch, and it was just a fly ball. And I know Darmal was frustrated because he was already back there and should be able to caught it and ended up getting out. But one thing that when we brought in our bullpen, Clonch and Westerhouse and I think Seabrook even got in late in that game too. Especially Brantley, they just haven't been hit much. And this was one of the first teams that actually, had some good at-bats and really scored runs on, which at the time would have been our bullpen, which pretty much was a shutdown at the time. So, and then we get out there, you see Andrew gets out, and here you see that win. And Michael's one of those guys, he's got the deceptive pop. You look at his size, and there's what we're talking about. There's a guy that if you want to play shallow on him, he can hit over your head, he can bunt on you, he can use the whole thing. I think what he's done recently is when he started using the whole field and started moving runners over, and I think we end up bunting in the first inning, or he got a double there, moved over. I believe we bunted Doyle on that situation to get up for Sloan, and then the wild pitch, and we scored and able to manufacture a run right off the bat.
And it's so important being able to get the lead in a game like this that it's going to be a tough game.
Right, and like I said, you're going to see here that Tech's got some big big strong kids. They're going to come out. They're very aggressive at the plate. Sometimes that can be a benefit if you got control pitcher because they're going to swing at some pitches that are borderline and get out of jams. But you can see Andrew again just attacking the zone, throwing strikes, and like I said, he's been, for that midweek start against the competition he's had to pitch, he's done very well this year.
That's what I was going to say. You face an Auburn-Montgomery team that can really hit the ball, a Tech team that can really hit the ball, and he's been able to shut them down.
Right. And, again, here we get some ground balls making plays, and that's something that we, early in the year we were really probably as good as a defensive team that I've seen when we had, and just recently we got to get back to being a team that, any ball that's hit, you're going to be out, and any ball that's going to be borderline, we're going to be able to dive and catch. And then, again, here we got Drew's going to put on a kind of a bunt show there, and pitcher comes up and in and kind of caught him in the helmet and ricocheted off there. But again, we get a base runner on.
This is going to be the start of a big inning. A lot of times it starts with something small like that, hit batter or
right.
walk, and then you can go from there.
And this is something that people always talk about the way the game changed, but putting pressure on the defense. It's just hard to handle. You just don't work at it much. And all it is, here's a guy, we're in a bunt situation. They know we're probably going to bunt. They're anticipating we're going to bunt, and the pitcher just can't find the strike zone. So now what it turns out to be, now you, instead of having a runner at second, now you got first and second and nobody out. So here we go again. And then you'll see their pitcher falls off. Michael gets it over there, and it's not even close, and gets a play. And here it is, a sack bunt situation. It turns into a base hit. And location is what we talk a lot about, staying there and get good location, force the defense to make a play. So then we get the bases loaded. And, Jacob here, been one of our main RBI guys, gets a pitch, obviously deep, they make a nice catch, but it's a play where we're able to tag, score a run, then move the runner over there, and we got first and third. Now we can get some other things going. So it's, again, we worked hard to get him in position. Now it's a job of the 3, 4, 5 guys to hit him in.
And that's the thing you've been able to do all season is, all the way down through your lineup, have guys contribute.
And I think here's where, in Josh Sear, you can see there, he getting a ball to right center field, and I think that's something that's really changed. I think it was Josh, wasn't it? Yeah. It's Josh there. And I think that's what he's starting to realize, and he's got to stay with it. A lot of his hits recently have been to right center field. He's been really working the middle of the diamond. And then that's what you want him to do and drive in runs. And here's a ball that, JP hits hard right at the shortstop, can't make a play. And obviously he runs well enough if you don't come up clean with it. And he makes a diving play and then couldn't come up, and it's too late by the time you come up. So really making some things, some good at bats, putting some first and thirds here, put on there, have just steal bluff. They don't control it. Makes a guy moves up, able to score a run. Again, manufacturing run, putting pressure on.
Yep. So a big 4-run inning for the Lions here, go up 5-0.
Now you want to do is you go out there, and this is where try to keep it at 5-0. Unfortunately, they were able to plug back in there and get into the game, and one of them was, we didn't see that, but it was actually, there was a home run they hit. It was a fly ball, and again, that's a little frustrating. But we're both playing under the same conditions. Wind's blowing out for us just as much as it is them. Here Josh gets a ball that's out over the plate, reaches for it, and is able to beat it out and keeping the ball in the infield. And there's a real good at bat, got a ball over the middle of the plate and stayed right through it. Another RBI, and that's something I think this group has done, is how well our down, your 7, 8, 9 guys are not your normal 7, 8, 9 guys. They have good at bats. Darmall's one of the, I think he's in over 400 plus with runners in scoring position. So, he's not just a guy, well, he's a 9 guy, I'm just going to throw over the plate to him, because he can't hurt you.
And so key here to be able to answer each time, as you see Tech got to run, we got to run. You're batting now in the bottom of the 7th, and you're going to get a couple more. Yeah,
it's one of those things. I thought we did a good job of responding and able to get a run every time they score. We score. Here we put on a bunt, and the bunt was a little hard, but it really was over far enough, and you can see the pitcher was in no position to really make a play at second. He was so off balance and really should have never even thrown it. But for us, I'm glad he did. He threw it away, and we were able to move everybody over, score. I might even be able to score a run. Now we get to steal a base and put another guy in scoring position and try to get a good at bat. And here's the ball that's hit middle in, inside out. There's the hands, able to hit it, bobbles, and Josh did a really good job of reading that play, because it didn't go through, but once it kicked off, he had momentum towards the plate and was able to score. There's another good bat. There's Drew Parker again, and Drew, like I said, he's another one. Yeah, he is hitting the 8-hole, but I'm telling you, he's hitting over 300. And it's one of those things I just like having him, down the lineup there, because he's been so productive down at that point, and not only doing a great job of catching, but he's also had some really good hits for us.
And Drew hit well last year, but Dale Ricketts did a great job hitting, and who could expect Drew to come in and do even better this season? Yeah, and he's been. I think one thing, and we'll maybe talk to Coach Hancock about this a little bit too, but they go through the scouting reports, and Drew's really called a lot of the games. I thought his improvement, obviously working with Coach Hancock and understanding how to pitch guys, but his able to mix. Once in a while we'll make sure we call something different, make sure he's on the same page when he comes back in. But I thought he's done a good job of calling pitches for all of our, not only our young guys, but all the guys that are returning. And there again, there's a nice play right there by Michael's so quick and to get a play to end the game. And at that time, it was a little shaky. They if it goes through, then they're going to at least tie, maybe go ahead.
And that was, again, they're coming to play, secured it in his glove, and ended up having the ball in his hand and the end of the game. And like I said, Tech was one of the first teams against our bullpen that really just kept plugging away and get some hits. They made it very interesting.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll have more Lion baseball after this.
The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by McDonald's and by the Courthouse Racket Club.
Looks like there's an opening for shipping coordinator, and I've got to pick someone. Tough decision.
Okay, you could be a rising star, but you just ordered a crispy McChicken and a fresh brewed sweet tea for only $1 each off McDonald's dollar menu. So you're smart, right?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Smart man. 2 sevens.
Oh! Wow.
The fox strikes again.
The fox strikes again. He's always right.
The simple joy of being smart.
Hi, I'm Mike Keene, head baseball coach at the University of North Alabama. Have you ever heard the saying, great baseball players are made in the off-season? As a college baseball coach, I can tell which high school recruits are on a weight program and which ones are not. Help your young athlete reach the top of his sport by training with the personal trainers at the Courthouse Racket Club. Our 5 trainers are ready to work at your athlete's pace and your schedule. Try our 3andMe training program designed for 3 athletes to work with a trainer and lower the cost to fit any budget. Call Ken Irby at 764-0034 to set up a program designed especially for your young athlete. The Courthouse Racket Club, proudly serving the Shoals for 30 years.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. I'm joined now by UNA pitching coach Matt Hancock. And Coach Hancock, the UNA Lions pitching staff doing a really great job of late. You moved up to second in the conference with a 3.19 ERA, and you've gotten some complete games, some great work from your bullpen. But so much goes into that, and the scouting reports and all the preparation you do before the game. Let's talk a little bit about that today. I know it begins with a scouting report, so your pitchers really have a pretty good idea of who they're facing and what they need to do.
It goes back to the fall, to be quite honest with you, and really instilling, okay, here's how we're going to have to be able to pitch in conference play. And that's how we start establishing our patterns, and they start learning really early on what's a good pitch and good location and stuff like that. And then as the season gets going, we look at scouting reports as kind of a map to give us something going into the game, give us kind of a blueprint of what might be thrown our way and what we might face in the opposing team. But and that we always tell our pitchers, you stick to your strengths. And if we have to adjust from that, if they're hitting our strengths, then it's going to be a long day anyways, and we'll figure out a way to adjust. But we always attack them with our strengths as opposed to their weaknesses.
And a lot of that can vary on game day. You're down in the bullpen with a pitcher as he's warming up, going in, and sometimes you see things you don't like. Sometimes you see things that you do like, but that gives you a good idea of what you're going to expect when the game gets started.
Yeah, it does. And, there's some pitchers out there that you can throw that out the window. I mean, they get down there in the bullpen and they can't hit a spot and they can't throw a breaking ball for a strike, and you're thinking, oh, man, it's going to be a long day. And then they get out in the game and it's like none of that happened and they're good to go. There's other guys that if they're bad in the bullpen, I know they're going to struggle in the game. And that's just kind of a bad feeling. And usually when that happens, you just kind of get in someone else's ear without making a big deal about it and saying, hey, you got to be ready to go early today.
Another part of that is working on game situations, and I know we're so effective at the plate with the bunting and all the other things we do, but you also work on the other side of that with your pitching staff of how to handle all those situations.
I think our practice is great preparation for that because our guys have to go through it all the time. When we talk about holding runners and during the fall scrimmages and early spring scrimmages, Coach Keene has our runners steal just about every pitch. So if you can't hold a runner, it gets exposed. If you can't field a bunt, it gets exposed. So all those things our guys have to be good at, and they get a lot of work at it.
Coach Keene mentioned in the last segment the great work that Drew Parker's done working with the pitchers this season. Talk a little bit about his performance.
Drew, he's a great communicator, and he talks to me a lot about pitching. We'll be down in the bullpen. He'll talk to our guys, and he catches their bullpens, and he gets on them just as much as I do if they're not throwing the ball well, and he talks to them well. So, we sit down going into every game, excuse me, and say here's how we got to attack them and here's how we got to go about it, and he has a good idea, and then we just stay constant communication in between innings, make sure we're on the same page.
A lot of times you see a team struggle, there's some errors, and they kind of magnify themselves, but it seems with your pitching staff, as each pitcher's pitched well, it's kind of followed domino effect with the next guys, and everybody's gone out there and been consistent.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, they say hitting's contagious. Well, at times, getting outs can be contagious as well. If you're sitting down there in the bullpen and you're seeing somebody go out there and mow a lineup down, and they say, well, I can do it too, especially for these freshmen. They see their friends go out there, they see their young buddies go out there and have success. They say, hey, maybe I can do that if there's a little bit of doubt in there.
And so many tight games, and you can tell the team does have confidence as well as the coaching staff in our bullpen that know they're going to get the job done.
Yeah, and it's they've done a great job of their own instilling their own confidence. That's something we talk about them in the fall and saying, hey guys, you get confidence through your preparation and the work you put in this fall, so when you go out there, you're ready to go, and they've done a great job of it.
Another part of your job as the pitching coach and assistant coach is sometimes you're not at some of the games because you're having to be out on the road and look at some recruits and scout other teams, and I know that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, recruiting's obviously a big part of it. You can't win if you don't have good players, and I'm very fortunate. Coach Keene allows me. He says, you basically set your schedule, you go find the players, and he has a lot of trust in me in bringing those guys in and trying to keep the winning ways going.
And just a quick note, your perspective on #1 ranking in the nation. It's got to be a great feeling for you and the rest of the team.
It's a great feeling. I mean, obviously, when I signed to play here 10, 11 years ago, whenever that was, just coming off a World Series appearance. And that was something that, I wanted to continue on and help contribute to the tradition of the program, and just to, whether as a player, as a coach, and to get us up that high, hopefully we can keep it rolling.
We'll take one quick break, and we'll be back after this.
The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by Riccatonis and by TVA Credit Union of the Shoals.
I'm Riccatoni Valentino, and I've got a question for you. Do you like lasagna? Do you like spaghetti? Do you like pizza? Do you like ravioli? Do you like steak marsala? Do you like shrimp spadino? Do you like to have a good time? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you need to go to Riccatoni's in historic downtown Florence. They know how to have fun down there, and the food's great. So remember, it's Riccatoni's Italian Grill in downtown Florence, and tell them Riccatoni Valentino sent you.
TVA Credit Union was established by the Farm Credit Administration on June 24, 1936, with 7 branches full of financial experts offering personal advice. TVA Credit Union offers low rates for mortgages, auto and personal loans, as well as higher rates on savings and CDs. TVA Credit Union is member-owned and operated, and now open to the community. TVA Credit Union is everybody's credit union. Give TVA Credit Union a call today, 256-386-3000, or stop by any branch.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. This is our player profile segment, and Coach Keene, today we're going to look at 4 newcomers to your team this year, and that's always an important piece of the puzzle. You had a great returning group coming back, but it's always how the new guys are going to fill in and fill those spots that'll determine the ultimate success of your team.
No, it is. And this is what we're talking about with recruiting. You go out and try to not only bring in good individual, good players, but that really going to fit our program. And you try to do the best. A lot of times you don't know till you get them in there. It sometimes can be like flipping a coin, but that's why we go try to watch as many as we can play, because we kind of have an idea of, hey, this guy really looks like he's going to fit well into our system, and that's what you hope you do. And I thought some of these we're going to see have really done that well.
And as we get into our player profiles here, as we said, we're going to look at 4 new guys today. And one of the places you really needed some help after last season was the outfield. You graduated all 3 of your starting outfielders, and Josh Doyle from Hartselle here was really a good find for you.
Yeah, Josh was one of those, how we found him. I got a phone call from him, and he was down at Pensacola, had a really good freshman year, and didn't have quite the sophomore year that he did his freshman year. And he's from Hartselle, and and I called around, and we know he could run, had a good arm strength, and brought him over. And I thought what he's done a very good job of adjusting into our system. We changed his hitting up a little bit to stay more on top of him, more ground balls. And like I said, with his size, I knew he would be. You could hide him with his speed until about, you could start seeing him 12 innings leading us with stolen bases, but then plays that right field very well. That's a tough position to play in our field, and I thought he's done a very good job in outfield.
He's hitting .320 for the season and among the national leaders in stolen bases, as you said, with 18. But again, his defense has really been a highlight out there in right field.
Right, and he's ran some really, you see some balls in the gap, seen it off those stands. He's really run them down, and I think that's what's evident with having that speed in the outfield. Plus, he's got a very good arm, and I think he has both, speed and a good arm.
Michael Watkins is the other piece in that starting pitching staff for the conference. He's pitching that second spot each week, and he's had a couple of great performances. He's 5-0, 3.72 ERA for the season.
Michael is he's also a dual player. He's one of those that he's a very good defensive player, a very good position player, and I know he would like to get in there and swing the bat. He did when he's at Motlow State. He did do both, but every time I think about getting him in there, I get paranoid that what am I going to do if he do something stupid by he's in there play, gets hurt, and we don't have him for the weekend because he's been so important on the mound for us. And I think the thing about Mike, he really hasn't pitched a lot, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. And obviously his stuff is pretty good. He gets off track a little bit, and I think each time you see him, he end up getting a complete game, and that's what we kind of talked to him about, being able to get 7 innings out of him. And he's just such a good, being a shortstop, he's really good off the mound too.
And being a new pitcher, you never know how they're going to react in the conference, and he's been very confident and gone out there and done a really good job for you on the mound in those games. Jordan Gurley, a guy in the preseason, looked like he had won the starting job over at third base, and started out a little slow. And when he gave Andrew Allman an opportunity, Andrew really seized it. But Jordan's been filling in for you as a designated hitter and some pinch hitting as well.
Right, and that's one of those things when anytime you're on a team that's having a good season, you're going to have some competition, and nobody really wants to say, hey, I like being on the bench, but it's what you do with your opportunities when you get in there. He's got, if anybody ever seen him with the pregame throwing the ball across the diamond, he's got a very good arm. He's got some good bat speed. He's got some talent on there. The biggest thing in a lot of first-year guys is the consistency, and that's who ends up playing. And Andrew Allman, fought that for a couple of years, trying to stay consistent. Andrew this year has been able to do that. And Jordan's also, we thought he was going to pitch a little bit for us, and he had a little bit of arm problems with that, so that kind of didn't able to do that. But like I said, he's got a good arm. He's got a lot of talent.
And here's our next player, one pleasant surprise for you this season, Darmal Moore, out in left field, and he's hitting .333 right now. He's also done a really good job defensively for you. A great job base running.
And Darmal, after the fall, and we found out about Darmal, he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He has a lot of high expectations, very competitive. Then this spring, when it come rolling around, he just really kind of calmed down and then started running some balls down the outfield. And he's he is the fastest guy on our team, can really run. Trying to get him on base and do some things. I like to get him to start stealing the field more bases when we get him on. but he's really done a good job for us. And recently, hitting the 9-hole, hitting 350, you're kind of, hey, why are you not going to bring him up? But again, where he's at in that position, he kind of gets overlooked, but you can't just throw it over the middle of the plate, and you got to mix well, and then he does get on. Now you got Michael Schmidt coming in behind him, so that's kind of the reason I like having him in that 9-hole to bring him around. But plays really hard. I think he's one of the guys you watch him play. He's got a lot of energy and that really competes very well.
In a small way, you can kind of compare this team to our '89 team that had guys hitting 300 up and down the lineup. But these guys aren't hitting for that average or that much power. But you do have guys consistently hitting, scoring, getting on base for you 1 through 9.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. What's kind of interesting about this team, you don't really look around and say, okay, well, I don't want to bunt this guy because this guy, I don't know if he can get a hit. I really don't even worry about that because it doesn't really matter what part of our lineup that we have up. If we got a chance to get a guy in scoring position, we can bunt pretty much everybody else because the guy behind him is going to do a pretty good job. And that's what I think it takes a lot of pressure off of. You don't really have to think about it. You just get a guy on. We know we can bunt him over because we know we're going to get a good bat behind him.
You had a week off from Gulf South Conference play last weekend, but back in it this week at Valdosta. Going to be a tough series, of course. They're 7-2, leading the conference. UNA right behind them at 6-3.
Yeah, it's anytime you go to Valdosta, it's a long trip. They got a nice big ballpark. They're a very offensive team. I know they've got 2 guys that have been pitching real well. Looks like we're going to have probably be facing some left-handed pitchers. I know 2 of their guys have good numbers. One of the guys, they started, another guy mixed it up. Trying to figure out, I know they got 1 submariner in the bullpen, but just trying to figure out the depth of their bullpen. That's probably the toughest thing they're going to do. But you're going to have to play good down there. You're going to have to play good defense. You can't give them extra at-bats and extra opportunities because they will take the advantage of it. And obviously what they did to Delta State makes it kind of scary what their offense can do.
And to show how things change once you get into the season, West Florida and Delta State, of course, picked to be right at the top of the conference. They're struggling a little bit. Valdosta really struggled pre-conference, but since they've gotten to conference play, they play very well.
And one thing about where Valdosta is, that's why you never look at the preseason. They're in a location where they got a lot of those sunshine teams. They played a lot of very good teams early. And sometimes when you got they're probably finding their team, trying to change their lineup, and when you're playing good teams and you're trying to figure out how you're going to play, sometimes you lose some games until you figure it out. And I think what happened with them is they were able to figure it out, and all of a sudden they went from not hitting to, I think they've moved up to about 2nd in the conference in hitting. So they were hitting about 280, 270 for quite a while. Next thing you know, they're over 300. So that was the thing I started noticing, which was kind of worrying me. And so I say, okay, great, now Valdosta is really starting to swing the bats, and which they're capable of doing that.
And West Georgia following UNA in the standings, 8-4. Alabama Huntsville 7-5. West Florida, as we said, 4-4. And then West Alabama 6-6, so they're kind of a surprise. But the key thing is to keep winning those series, and so far the Lions have won all 3 of their conference series.
Yeah, and it's it doesn't, the next 2 conference series, in each of them, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You got to play well into them, and we, hopefully we can go down there and play, just play good baseball, put ourselves in a position to win some games, and then just keep moving up from game to game. But it's going to come down to pitching and defense and our ability to execute when we need to, and hopefully we'll be able to do that.
And following Valdosta, you have the advantage of having 3 of your 4 final conference series at home. You have Delta State, Christian Brothers, and New Orleans at home. Then you'll close it out at UAH, but that's a great opportunity for you playing at home.
Right, and I think the New Orleans got switched due to a conflict. They had an air show in the area, so we did. That was nice to have an opportunity to have another home game, obviously with Delta State. And you can see what happens. Christian Brothers goes in there and gets upsets West Florida. So like I said, once you play conference, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You just got to play well.
UNA hosting Freed-Hardeman on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Easter weekend, Friday and Saturday, a 3-game home series with Delta State. Hope to see you there, and hope to see you again here next week.
Thank you again for watching the UNA Baseball Review. Please join us again next Sunday at 11:30.